hope all is well with everybody. We're gonna get started for today. Trying to pull up our topics for today. We're gonna be talking more about hormonal health and diving into the normal connections that we make, but really tailoring it to what is going on with our life right now, currently in society. Because as we see the year progresses on, even though it is getting towards the end of the year, more things are getting put in place and passed that are going to impact us for the beginning of next year, leading on until middle of next year, past next year, because of how things are shifting when it comes to our health industry, as well as coverage and insurance, and also when it comes to our food industry, because all of them are under the umbrella of keeping you in the space of being a customer. And so when you are having the issue of lack of energy when you wake up, you're dealing with fatigue, you're dealing with PMSing, painful menstrual cycles, brain fog, you don't have the time, nor do you have the brain power to have the discernment to make you understand what is fully going on, and to make the connections that help you be able to reverse what you have going on, and to change the lifestyle that you currently are dealing with, because or you're having, because the symptoms that you're dealing with, the signals from your body, that's the word I want to say. The signals from your body are not unrelated to what you have going on when it comes to your health. So if you are dealing with diabetes, for example, and you're having issues sleeping throughout the night before you even get diagnosed with diabetes, you are already showing signs of insulin resistance through the lack of sleep that you get, the lack of stability in your blood sugar, the way that you eat, and then how you wake up in the morning and you have no energy. It's a sign that you are dealing with insulin resistance, as well as different signs of on the skin, different signs of you having weight fluctuation and weight gain, you having painful menstrual cycles, and you not understanding the phases of your cycle, and how one phase of your cycle specifically, you are more likely to have insulin resistance. And so over the time of you being under stress and you not pinpointing where this stress is coming from, you are going to develop diabetes, because you had insulin resistance. You had the signs to show you that you were developing or you had insulin resistance, but you never changed. And we're not taught how to stay in tune with those signs and understand what they mean, but rather we are taught how to ignore them so that we make it by to the next day, and we continuously do the same terrible toxic habits and don't question. And so when you're dealing with the issue of a hormonal imbalance, to be specific, it's going to impact how your body operates day to day, whether it is your internal organs, whether it is your mental space, whether it is your physical activity. They are all going to impact how you operate every single day. So when your hormones are off, more likely than not, your gut is off as well. And when your gut is off, your brain is going to be off. So it's going to be a full circle of you not having discernment in the mind, you not having a healthy gut, which an unhealthy gut is going to throw off your entire digestive tract. And then in return from all of this distress that you have your body under, you are going to start having things like bloating. You're going to feel fatigued all the time. You're not going to want to get up and get moving and being active. You're not going to want to eat correctly, because the more crap you pile on, the more toxins you pile on, the more that parasites thrive in your space. Parasites love toxicity. Parasites love inflammation. And a lot of people don't understand how parasites impact the body until they realize, oh, I'm so heavily sick, I now have a chronic illness or disease. Because that's what you're leading yourself to when you never release parasites. You're leading yourself to having a chronic illness or a disease. They thrive in inflammatory states. They thrive when you have all these toxins stored inside of your fat cells. And they eat and they feed off of that, and they produce babies, and the babies become prominent, and they become adults, and then they raise babies. And it's a continuous life cycle that you're keeping alive by the habits that you have. So we really have to understand the connections of what we're doing to our body and how it's impacting our health just based on the foods that we consume. Because when you are not aware of how you should be in tune with the symptoms that are going on with your body, but instead you feel like you need to punish yourself, So you're hungry. Now you're thinking, well, I just ate, so I need to starve. Or I'm trying to fast today, even though I'm hungry, so I'm going to starve myself for the rest of the day. And you're not understanding when you don't set yourself up for a fast, you are going to have negative repercussions, even though you're doing the fast correctly. And the fast is as simple as you not eating, maybe just drinking water, or maybe doing a dry fast as well. But people don't understand that you have to set the body up to fast, because if you don't, then you go into panic mode. You're giving your body fight or flight. And so when you have that fight or flight mode and your body is sitting there trying to get any type of nutrients, it's going to start holding on to things. So when you finally do break that fast and you finally eat, now it's holding on to all the food that you ate at that one meal, because it's saying, well, maybe she's going to fast and she's going to calorie count, restrict, and not give me what I need for the next 12 hours or so. So I'm going to make sure that I have everything that I need to be able to operate and to keep her alive. And so you continuously do this multiple times a week, not realizing that when you were in that fasting state and you finally break it and you didn't set your body up for success, that you are going to have issues with your body regulating itself, and it's going to cause you to have insulin resistance. That is a dangerous place to be in, to consistently every single day giving yourself insulin resistance. And it's just as bad as you eating foods, eating all day long and putting yourself in an insulin resistant state every single time that you eat. Because when you are consuming after a fast and you're not breaking it correctly, nor did you start the fast correctly, your body is going to panic just as well as you eating toxins. Because your body says, well, on a regular basis, I don't get enough nutrients. And since I'm not getting enough nutrients of what I need, I can't make those crucial connections between how to balance my blood sugar, how to help the kidneys, how to help the liver, how to support the gut. And so your brain goes, well, we don't need to digest right now, but instead we need to keep you alive. So let's cut off the digestive tract, right? And you're never going to be able to figure out the answer to your support system when it comes to you having a healthy lifestyle if you don't know what these signals mean. We aren't taught in Western society, Western medicine, how to know what the signals from our body mean. And since we're not taught these, we can't be honest with ourselves under that system about how we're impacted with food and products. Because when you're following what they tell you, you don't need to sync with your cycle. You don't have to worry about what products you use, regardless if they're a toxin or not, regardless if they're a chemical or not. And you don't need to be reading your labels, because as long as you limit how much processed food you have, it's fine. But in reality, you need to know what's going inside of your food. You need to be questioning how come meat can sit on a freezer section and not change color, and you know it's been there for a while. How come all of these different fruits and vegetables are sprayed heavily with pesticides and we are allowed to consume them? Like, there are so many questions that we should be asking. How come Febreze used to be labeled itself as a feminine hygiene product, and now all of a sudden we can spray it all up in our air, even though they know that Febreze was giving women, and I think it was Febreze, it wasn't Lysol, Febreze was giving women cancer because they were marketing it as a feminine hygiene spray. And now they're putting it in your home for you to spray it all over your homes. But we don't know this. A lot of people didn't know that Febreze was a feminine hygiene spray when it first was created. They were telling women to spray this on their intimate parts, and it was giving them cancer. It's the same thing with baby powder. It's the same thing with y'all getting birth control inserted or pill. You getting fibroids and cysts removed, because they have linked, and they've been talking about it more since we're starting to actually do studies into women's health, and we're really getting into women's health. They're now looking at the fact that endometriosis has been linked to giving women cancer. We've been knowing this. If you are in any health space, you know that endometriosis, any type of inflammatory disease, fibroids, cysts, are going to lead you down a path of having cancer, because it's an inflammatory disease. And like I just told you, in a state of inflammation, negative things thrive. Parasites thrive. Parasites cause illness and diseases. And when you are in the space of a toxic state and you have full of parasites, full of inflammation, cancer thrives there, because not only are you not going to be able to be getting enough hydration on a cellular level in this space, but you're also not getting oxygen on a cellular level. Because if you're eating the things that give you hydration and oxygen on a cellular level, you wouldn't be able to be in a cancerous state. So you're looking and you're like, okay, what is this? What is the food that I need to eat? What is the thing that I need to gain for me to be able to get oxygen and hydration on a cellular level? What you get from an oxygenated, a hydration and oxygenated state, what you need is for you to be eating fruits and vegetables. This allows your body to not only support the digestive tract, it also helps you be able to support your brain. Because when your gut and your brain are supported by your digestive tract and your brain are supported by the things that you eat in the gut, you are able to absorb nutrients. And when you're able to absorb the nutrients that you need, hi Elle, how are you doing? Thank you for liking up the live. When you absorb the nutrients that you need every single day, you are able to fight off illnesses and diseases. So now we're coming in this space where it's getting cold, everybody's getting sick because the seasons are shifting. But as somebody who doesn't get sick seasonally anymore, you have to understand that the only way that you get sick seasonally is by you consuming foods that make you inflammatory and make you sick. There is no way for an illness or disease to thrive in your space unless you are using food as your if you're not using food as your medicine and you're causing inflammation to thrive. When inflammation is thriving in your space, thank you guys for the likes, you are going to be sick. You are not going to be able to reverse what you have going on. But our habits are our medicine. So we have to look at what is causing this. What is the root cause? And the root cause for majority of society is inflammatory habits, consuming toxins. Whether it is the foods that you eat or the products that you put on your skin and your face, the things that you spray in your environment. If you're a woman and you're using tampons and pads, we know, if you don't know rather, they have a lawsuit going out right now against Tampax. Thank you for the roses. Against Tampax, I think Always, and one more company. They're getting sued right now because not only have women been finding mold inside of their pads and their tampons, they're also finding different chemicals inside these pads and tampons. And these are cancerous chemicals. You shouldn't be putting mold on any part of your body, let alone consuming it. But we freak out over things like this, but people don't realize that citric acid in your processed foods, more likely than not, 99% of the time, is made from black mold. So you're still consuming mold, but when society, when TikTok, when social media brings something to your attention, everybody rages over it, right? But people aren't realizing you've been eating mold for years. Yes, it's terrible that it's in the pads, but you've been consuming mold through citric acid. Thank you for the roses. I really appreciate it, and the likes. And this is what I mean by we have to be aware of what our body is trying to communicate to us. Because as somebody who, I never was a tampon wearer. I know that is a preference for women, what they would like, what they want to use. But my body always rejected them, and I never understood why. I never understood because I was like, even when I had to wear one, I still was in the state of I didn't want to wear one, and then my body started to turn on me after a certain amount of time of wearing it. And I was so afraid of getting whatever that, I forgot what that medical term is, where your body rejects the tampon literally and then you could die from it. And so I was super afraid of getting that. So I tried to limit how much I had to wear them unless I was really, really doing something and had to. And as I started to do research into what's going on, started to do research on how they're soaked with chemicals, they're bleached, etc., etc., I really started to understand why my body was rejecting them. And how pads also were making my body reject them, because I couldn't understand why I was cramping so bad. But as somebody who learned what back in the day, older times, what free bleeding was, how important it was for the women, how beneficial it is for the women, I started to understand why it's so frowned upon nowadays for us to be using anything that is like menstrual disc or something that is more natural, because they have programmed us to think, ew, that's nasty, ew, you can't do that. But you haven't looked at the science behind why it's so important for you to do these things. People haven't looked into the deeper meaning of why they have misconstrued what you believe around your cycle. Because we think that our cycle is a painful time to hate, to not want to come, to block it with pills, right? But this is the time for you to release and to support your feminine. And during that time, if you are suffering, that means that during the month, you weren't doing what your body was needing to do. You weren't giving it what it was needing. And it wasn't able to absorb the nutrients and use it during the time that you were releasing. And so you are consistently having these hormonal imbalances with your estrogen, your progesterone, your cortisol, and you're confusing your body into a state of fight or flight mode because you don't sync with your cycle, nor do you understand how important your cycle phases are. Because when you do, you know to eat according to them. You know how to operate according to your cycle phases so you're not overworking yourself. This is how you get rid of burnout. And this is what I tell women who come and work with me or are thinking about getting into the program. They're booking a one-on-one, and so they're trying to understand, how they get into the healthy space. We're not understanding where burnout is coming from within the body completely because we only tackle burnout from the space of work and family. But we aren't making a full connection of how burnout also starts with the foods that you eat and the products that you use. Because when your body is overloaded with toxins and stressed out from the products that you use, the habits that you have, you are going to be consistently running on fumes. And when you're running on these fumes, you're going to be burnt out eventually. And so when I do my program, we teach more than just, okay, we're going to eat a plant-based meal, we're going to start a plant-based lifestyle, but understanding how important it is to tackle the physical, the emotional, and the mental. Because they all have to go hand in hand for you to be on the right path for your lifestyle journey. Because being healthy isn't just eating a salad and going and working out, but it's having a healthy mind too. And you can't have a healthy mind in a societal system that has told you to be toxic and has poisoned you through the habits that they have taught you, have programmed into you. So we have to get away from that by reparenting the mind, reparenting the habits. And how you start doing that is understanding the language of your body first. Knowing what the body is speaking to you, slowing down and rebuilding that trust. Not just all of a sudden jumping into a healthy lifestyle, but making yourself eat salads and starve yourself and calorie kind of restrict. But understanding that swapping little meals that you love. So you love lasagna, making a plant-based lasagna, and understanding that it is very easy for you to make meat crumbles, for you to make steaks, for you to make chicken. You can make all the meat-loving dishes that you enjoy still to this day in a plant-based form, and it tastes the same. But you have to be willing to try these things and not just sit back and go, well, I don't see how that works, so I'm not going to do it. Because when you are in the space of saying, well, I don't see how it works, so I'm not going to do it, you're reparenting in your mind the diet culture that has taught you to eat salads, to hate this lifestyle, be on a diet for a month, be uncomfortable for a month, and then go back to your old habits and continue eating the way that you were. Because that's the mindset that you have when you do diets. I don't want to do this. I hate this. I'm really uncomfortable. I'm anxious because I'm not getting enough nutrients. Like, y'all really don't pinpoint what the diet is doing to you until afterwards when you're complaining how it didn't work, but you're seeing the repercussions of what it looks like when you are imbalanced with your habits. Because one minute you're taking care of yourself, next minute we're not. One minute I'm calorie counting and restricting. Next minute I'm eating the same amount of calories I was before I started the diet. This is not changing your habits, and that's why you're not seeing a shift. In order for you to see a shift, you have to change your habits, which help you be able to have a healthy lifestyle. Don't punish yourself for being human, for your body having human reactions, but know how to keep yourself in alignment through what your symptoms are showing you. You're hungry, you need to eat. But it's a matter of what are you going to eat? Did you wait until you were starving to decide to eat? Because now you're going to make bad decisions. But if you know you've been to the grocery store, you've prepped all your groceries, you've washed all your fruits and etc., you have plenty of things for you to go in the kitchen and cook, and they're your favorite meals, you're more likely to go in there and pick up some fruits, to pick up some vegetables, to actually cook that home-cooked meal. But when you're sitting here in the space of you have nothing prepped, you're starving, and you have fast food, you have Uber, you're thinking, well, you know what? Let me just go on ahead and just order something really quickly, or I'm going to go swing by McDonald's and I have to work. And then you're not realizing that you've eaten out 5 times this week. You've gained 20 pounds over the last couple of months, and then you're crying about how you did so much work during that diet before. And how you have to go back to that diet. But you didn't change your lifestyle. So yes, you're going to have to continuously flip-flop. One minute you don't care, next minute you have to care. One minute you don't care, next minute you have to care and go back on the diet. Because if you don't, that 20 pounds is going to go to 40, it's going to go to 50, it's going to go to 100. And you're going to be looking back and you're going to wonder, when did you gain all this weight? I have women who are in their 40s and they come work with me and they've been small all their life, and they talk about how they either have kids or they hit their 40s and they go through that next life puberty. And so they're talking about how they hit 40s and the emotional state that they are in is so confusing because they never had the issue to struggle with their weights, they never had the issue with their health, and all of a sudden it just caught up with them. And majority of the time, I don't even have to say it, they know, and they're like, it's a reality of the fact that I was never healthy, but I thought I was because I was skinny. And I'm like, yeah, a lot of people don't understand that because you're taught in society that as long as you're small and you're skinny, you are healthy. But it's not about what you look like. It's about the actions, what you eat, how your brain operates. Because when you are in the space of your nervous system not feeling safe within you, it's going to catch up eventually. Regardless if it's when you're 40, regardless if it's when you're 20, it starts to catch up with you. And there are small little subtle hints to let you know. I had a recent client who was saying that she had an issue with lumps that were developing on her breasts. And so they did a thyroid test. They were non-cancerous. They were doing all these different tests. But this was when she was in her 20s. She now is in her 40s. And so she was saying how it's crazy because her body was giving her signs when she was 20, but nobody was pinpointing it because they did all those regular tests that they're supposed to do. But as somebody who now makes the connections like I do, and she came and worked with me, mind you, she's a nurse. She's a nurse that came to work with me. Somebody who is not a nurse has the knowledge and the education around it, but not having a nursing degree, okay? I work with nurses and doctors who come and talk to me about the things that they have going on because nobody helps them make the connection. And so we're talking about it and she's starting to understand, and she's like, wow, I really see how I was having symptoms earlier on of me being dominant in estrogen, and they weren't seeing those signs because they're not taught according to women's health. And so it's as simple as you getting in alignment with your cycle to sync with it so that you are no longer estrogen dominant, progesterone dominant. So you're not having the fluctuation of both that is not the natural fluctuation, but you having an overload. Because that's what happens. Your adrenal glands are going to pump out high amounts of cortisol and estrogen. And progesterone is the pregnancy hormone. So after a certain amount of time of you having that high cortisol and that high estrogen state, it's going to start making your progesterone go crazy too. And a lot of women don't understand that they're having a dominant battle between both. And it's either going to make you have high estrogen or high progesterone. And then the symptoms are going to reflect that. Because you can have both going on at the same time, but the one that is higher is the one that they're going to read in those blood tests, in those lab tests. And so they're going to be like, oh, you just have high estrogen, let me give you a birth control for that. Oh, you just have high progesterone, let me give you a pill so it's going to help you be able to get your body out of the state of pregnancy. But not understanding that it's deeper than just, oh, you're in a state of pregnancy, but your body has literally been thrown off hormonally so bad that it is recognizing you as pregnant. Do you understand that? Like having high progesterone, your body has been thrown off for so long that it thinks you're pregnant. It's like, literally look at it and it goes, well, I'm not getting enough nutrients. It's not being absorbed. So there must be a baby in here. Like there has to be a baby. What else could it be? And then they're telling you, if you are somebody who has fibroids or cysts on top of an estrogen or progesterone problem, they're like, just get a surgery. It'll balance it all out. But that's not helping you get to the root cause. And then these women get their fibroids removed and they're wondering why they grow back. It's because you never got to the root cause to fix the problem and reverse it. So all you did was just remove the physical block instead of removing the spiritual and emotional block that is your habits. So you have to get in the rhythm of restoring your body. When you are out of sync with your body and you're telling yourself that you're broken, there's something wrong with you, this is a part of being a woman, that you have to deal with all these mood swings, you're going to consistently be uncomfortable. You're going to consistently have this issue of trusting yourself. But every meal, every action that you have towards your health, moving daily, hydrating, eating fiber-rich foods, eating enough food in general, because a lot of people don't eat enough food because they're trying to stay in a calorie deficit, but you're not eating enough nutrients. And so You have to prioritize your health in order for you to be able to get back on the right track. And if you've never been on the right track like I wasn't before, I was estrogen dominant for a long time in my life, and I didn't realize it until I was old enough to actually make those connections, to ask questions for myself. Because when I'm asking questions and I'm, in the doctor when I'm a teen, they're just telling me that it's just a part of your body is changing. Like, they're making all these excuses, and I'm telling them I want to be on birth control. My doctor's telling me no, it's not going to work, right? I get on birth control for a year. Not only did it not help, but it further threw off my hormones. So then I started to really understand how it's because I was out of alignment with what my body needed. I wasn't getting enough nutrients. And so in return, my body was having that panic response to every single time that I was menstruating, which is, you're not getting enough throughout the month. I'm not supported for me to be releasing. I'm scared. Because that's what your body is telling you. I'm scared. Like, you don't have any balancing habits. You're lacking nutrients. A lot of y'all are emotionally stressed out from work and children, family in general. And you have no stress management when it comes to not only that aspect of family and work, but also with the regulation of how you eat. A lot of women emotionally eat. And that's not the way for you to healthily cope with stress, but instead coat more stress on the body. But instead it turns itself into weight gain. It turns itself into illnesses and diseases. So this is what I mean by it's deeper than just a physical aspect, but it's emotional and it's mental as well. Because all three go hand in hand, and they're all going to be impacted by the habits that you have. So if you are looking to turn this around for your body and to realize and recognize that you are not the enemy, your body is not the enemy, and to help your body be able to see that you are not, so it can trust you again, then I am here to help you be able to understand that every craving, every symptom, every cycle is a chance for you to be able to get it correct and to understand the communication between each. Because your body is communicating through you, whether it is your PMS, it is your painful menstrual cycle, or a regulated cycle. So it's the matter of, are you getting the communication that you want, or are you not? And so you're trying to figure out, where do you get this communication? How do you get to this space of balance? And if you are tired of feeling guilty for being hungry, the confusion, tired of operating in silence or feeling silenced because Western medicine will silence you as a woman in a heartbeat, I do have my Balanced Body program. Like I said, it is linked in my bio. This is a 6-week program that is going to help you be able to get in this mental space, work on that mental space, understand the connections, and how to make a plan that we are going to implement through that 6 weeks, so that we can start making plant-based meals, non-toxic products, balance our hormones, and be able to fast and to detox and to cleanse by the end of the last 2 weeks. So that way we can start to see the shift in our health, but we have to shift the habits first. Like I said, it is more than just physical. It is mental and it is emotional. And we have to get those regulated and right first. So I appreciate you guys for all the likes and the comments. I really do. Does anybody have any questions for me at all? I do have an email list if you are looking for more guidance and support, and to understand, what is some kind of natural, what is the plant-based lifestyle strategist like myself. My name is Kendra, and what do I help you with? I do have Wellness Wednesdays that I send out every single Wednesday. I send out a wellness email. As well as, when I post on YouTube, I do have a YouTube that I post all of my past lives. It is linked in my bio. You can go check it out. All of my links are in my bio. I have plenty of playlists for you to get started making your own plant-based meals, understanding how to get rid of poisons in your house, and as well as also understanding how to have a plant-based mastery mindset to get in the space of eating more plant-based meals. It is not everybody's desire to go completely plant-based, but I have to preference and teach people from the space of being plant-based, because that is the only way for you to be able to reverse what you have going on. After you are in the space of reversal, it is up to you if you sprinkle in meat every once in a while, once a month, once every 3 months. That is up to you. Same thing with dairy. But when you are in the space where you're already sick and you're thrown off, thank you for the shares, you have to stop completely what you are doing. But we work our way up to that. I don't just say tomorrow you're not going to eat any meat for the rest of your life. But you have to understand the importance of why you have to cut out the terrible toxic habits that you are currently dealing with. Thank you for the shares. Any questions for me at all? And thank you guys for the likes. And if you don't have any questions, I'm going to hop off. Today is Wednesday. I'll try to be back on tomorrow, but if I'm not back on tomorrow, I'll be on Friday. This won't be posted this week on YouTube, but it will be posted, I think, next week. I think next week I only have a video posted for Tuesday, but I do have all the videos for this week scheduled. So tomorrow, I post every Tuesday and Thursday. So tomorrow I already have a video scheduled. So this one won't be coming out this week. I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm going to hop off and I'm going to go run to the store. I just finished my workout, so you're so welcome. I just finished my workout. It's kind of like spitting rain today. I really wanted to get outside and walk, but I didn't want to get stuck in the spitting rain, so I decided that's a good way for me to start getting the sniffles, is being rained on like that. So how do you feel about alkaline foods? They're great if you are focused on eating an alkaline based lifestyle, but honestly and truly, I don't see the point of having to focus just based on just alkaline foods, unless you are having a major issue like a stage 4 cancer, for example. If you were just somebody who was dealing with diabetes and you were stage 2, something simple, you don't have to go to the extreme. That's my whole point. People only have to go to the extreme if you are in an extreme situation. I know that some people think that that's what they have to go to. I have talked to people in my family who have gotten on the Dr. Sebi and started talking about that, and I asked them the same question that I do with my clients. Does this make you feel comfortable? And usually it's no. Because it's like, do you feel more comfortable restricting yourself when you're already restricting what you normally eat and then restricting the fruits and the vegetables that you eat? Or would you rather just get in the space of eating fruits and vegetables on the regular, and then we start focusing on these if we need to? But if you're not in a state where stage 4 cancer, for example, where it's life or death, you have a couple months, or that's what they're projecting, then I don't see the exact point to go straight to alkaline. It is something that is an educational preference for people, but I don't think it's a necessity right off the bat. Now, if there's something that you do in a year, 6 months from now, okay, but you have to establish the habits first that make you feel comfortable. And so that's what I teach, and that's what I do. Whether you're in one-on-ones or the program, etc., I teach from a space that makes you feel comfortable in the space, not something that throws you into a workout plan that you've never done, that you just are gonna hate by the end, because that's what diet culture does. Diet culture throws you into things that makes you uncomfortable, and I know that people say you have to be uncomfortable to grow, but you're not realizing how that puts a subconsciously a negative space on into your healthy lifestyle journey. Because I went to school for psychology. We are creatures of habit, and we like comfortability. That's just as simple as that. So when you are already in a very uncomfortable space because you have been taught that you have to calorie count and restrict, starve yourself, and eat salads for you to be healthy, and then somebody throws in there, well, you can't eat those fruits because those fruits aren't alkaline. You're already looking at everybody like, there's fruits that I can't eat? That's overwhelming. I know that'd be overwhelming for me, and I knew about Dr. Sebi when I first started, but I didn't see the whole point of me going directly to raw vegan Dr. Sebi diet immediately. I saw people who did that, and I'm telling you now, the people who started doing that when they first went vegan, they're not doing that anymore. A lot of them quit being vegan, period, the end. I had somebody in my life who went vegan around the same time that I did. They don't eat that way anymore. They understand how important they are, and they do certain things when you're trying to cleanse and you're trying to detox, and understanding that. But as far as sticking strictly to that, I don't think it's a sustainable thing. And that's what I teach, sustainability, because we shouldn't be on diet culture time. We should be on the space where I can sustain this and I can keep this lifestyle for the rest of my life and not have to worry about me slipping up. Because that's a more of a room for margin for error, and you feeling like you're doing something wrong. And we're trying to get you just comfortable in the space, you know? And there's not a lot of people who are comfortable in the space of just eating fruits and vegetables on a regular basis. So that's a long explanation for that. But if you guys have any more questions, I'll answer them. And if not, I'm going to hop off. So I hope that helps. Does that make sense? I know that was a long explanation, but that's the only way that I can put it. Because, like, as somebody who went down that rabbit hole of understanding and learning about it, and being around somebody who was also doing the same thing of like, okay, I'm going to follow Dr. Sebi and do the alkaline. And then I realized that that's not going to work for me, because I'm like, I already am having a hard time, like, getting myself in the door. I was doing this on my own. I had no help. I didn't have a coach. I literally was doing my own research, learning about what they were doing with plant-based products, and then figuring out, okay, how do I make plant-based foods? And started to realize it makes me more comfortable to learn how to cook the food first. And then after I learned how to cook the recipes and have foods on my mind, which is like, oh, I can do this, I can do this. Having my comfort meals as well as the quick fast meals, having the ones that take longer, etc. It started to make me feel more comfortable to do detoxes, to actually understand what the alkaline diet looks like, how important and impactful it is to the body. And plant-based is the way. A lot of people are getting on the wave, and a lot of people are still skeptical. I'm just here for the people who are looking for support and they know that it's not coming from the space that they're currently in. I'm never here, like I said, I'm never here to tell you you can never eat meat or dairy ever again. It's something that you shouldn't be consuming on a regular. But what I want you to understand is that if you are dealing with any health issue or you are having hormonal imbalances, you have to go back to eating the earth and get away from what you're doing currently right now. And then later on, when you want to sprinkle something in for yourself, that's up to you. But when you are looking for support and you're looking for help, you can't find it in the space that has poisoned you and toxic and made you toxic. It's not possible. Thank you guys for the likes. I really appreciate it. I'm not seeing any more questions. So like I said, I usually try to go live 3 days out of the week. This is my second live for this week, so we will have one more either tomorrow or Friday. If you're on my email list, you know when I go live. I try to post it in my little, like, I forgot what it is, my little caption for stories to let y'all know if I'm going live today or tomorrow or whatever. But I don't always get onto it and do it. So I hope that you guys have an amazing rest of your day. I will see you later, and peace, y'all. I'm out.